British Columbia has decided to play hardball with the U.S., taking a bold stance in the ongoing trade disputes that have been simmering for years. The province is not just reacting impulsively, it's making a calculated move to protect its economic interests and assert its position on the global stage. Introducing the Economic Stabilization Tariff Response Act, a piece of legislation that could reshape the dynamics of cross-border trade. This act is a direct response to the economic pressures and uncertainties brought about by fluctuating U.S. trade policies. This legislation allows BC to impose tolls on commercial vehicles using its infrastructure to reach Alaska. These tolls are not just a financial measure but a strategic tool designed to send a clear message to the U.S. about the costs of economic aggression. It's a strategic move, not an immediate cash grab, aimed at countering potential U.S. tariffs. By implementing these tolls, BC is leveraging its geographical position to create economic leverage, ensuring that any tariffs imposed by the U.S. will have tangible consequences. The act expires in May 2027, indicating it's a temporary measure. This expiration date suggests that BC is open to negotiation and willing to adjust its policies based on the evolving trade landscape. Premier David Eby also directed a halt on purchasing American products and selling alcohol from Republican-led states. This move is part of a broader strategy to exert economic pressure and signal BC's disapproval of certain U.S. policies. This could make goods more expensive for Alaskans and limit their liquor options in BC. By targeting specific products, BC aims to create a ripple effect that will be felt by consumers and businesses alike, amplifying the impact of its economic measures. It's a bold response to unpredictable U.S. trade policies. BC's actions reflect a growing frustration with the lack of stability and predictability in international trade relations, prompting the province to take matters into its own hands. The timing is no accident, directly addressing former President Trump's tariff threats. By implementing these measures now, BC is making a statement about its readiness to defend its economic interests against any future threats. BC's actions are a defensive stance against economic aggression. The province is not seeking conflict but is prepared to protect its interests and ensure that it is not taken advantage of in the complex world of international trade. It's a polite yet firm Canadian response to protect their interests. By balancing assertiveness with diplomacy, BC is navigating the challenging terrain of international trade with a clear focus on safeguarding its economic future. South of the border, Donald Trump's unconventional trade policies have stirred the pot. His approach to international trade has always been marked by a certain unpredictability, often leaving both allies and adversaries guessing. His musings about a 25% tariff on Canadian goods have created uncertainty. This potential tariff has sent ripples through the economic landscape, affecting businesses and consumers alike. This unpredictability has pushed BC to prepare its defensive measures. The province is not taking these threats lightly, and officials are working tirelessly to safeguard their economic interests. Trump's rhetoric included extreme suggestions like military action or annexation. While these statements might seem outlandish, they have nonetheless caused significant concern among Canadian officials. Such statements, even if hyperbolic, are taken seriously given his past authority. The international community watches closely, aware that even the most improbable scenarios can sometimes become reality. BC's Economic Stabilization Act is a direct response to these erratic threats. This legislation aims to provide a buffer against the economic turbulence that could arise from sudden policy changes. It's not aggression, but a protective measure against potential economic harm. The people of BC are determined to protect their livelihoods and ensure stability in the face of external pressures. The situation is a classic case of an irresistible force meeting an immovable object. On one side you have Trump's aggressive trade policies, and on the other, BC's steadfast resolve to defend its economic interests. BC is saying, if you threaten us, we'll protect ourselves. This sentiment resonates deeply within the province, where the community stands united against perceived threats. It's a tense standoff with significant implications for both sides. The outcome of this standoff could reshape the economic and political landscape, not just for BC and the U.S., but for the broader international community as well. Alaska is understandably upset about BC's toll proposal. Governor Mike Dunleavy hopes for a federal resolution to avoid escalation. Alaska Senator Robert Myers warns of severe impacts on the economy. Fresh produce and oil industries rely heavily on transport through Canada. Implementing tolls is feasible, adding to Alaskan anxieties. In Washington, D.C., Alaska's representatives threaten economic retaliation. Senator Dan Sullivan suggests waiving the Passenger Vessel Services Act. This would allow cruise ships to bypass Canadian ports, impacting BC's economy. Alaska feels caught between Trump's tariffs and BC's tolls. It's a frustrating position for a state reliant on cross-border cooperation. The trucking industry is alarmed by BC's toll proposal. Jamie Benson of the Alaska Trucking Association warns of increased costs. These costs will likely be passed on to Alaskan consumers. Supply chains could face severe disruptions, affecting essential goods. Delays and rerouting could become the norm, raising prices further. High-value and time-sensitive cargo would be particularly affected. The tolls threaten the accessibility and affordability of goods in Alaska. It's a significant concern for a state already facing high living costs. The tariff dispute has sparked a wave of indignation across Canada. Prime Minister Trudeau announced potential retaliatory tariffs against the U.S. Ontario's Premier Doug Ford, proposed a surcharge on electricity to the U.S. Yukon joined in, halting liquor purchases from American companies. These measures show Canada's willingness to leverage economic strengths. The public in Yukon suggested creative retaliations, highlighting widespread discontent. The dispute has united Canadian provinces in a show of solidarity. It's a clear message. Canada won't be a passive recipient of economic pressure. The current tensions echo the cruise ship ban of 2021. This event was a significant moment in the history of North American tourism, particularly affecting the cruise industry and the economies dependent on it. Canada's ban on large cruise ships during COVID-19 had severe impacts on Alaska. The usually bustling cruise ship terminals were eerily empty, and popular tourist spots turned into ghost towns almost overnight. The Passenger Vessel Services Act requires foreign-flagged ships to stop in Canada. This law, intended to protect American maritime jobs, inadvertently tied the fate of Alaskan tourism to Canadian ports. The ban disrupted Alaskan tourism, a vital economic sector. Small businesses, which rely heavily on the influx of cruise passengers, faced unprecedented challenges, with many forced to close their doors. In 2020, cruise passengers to Alaska dropped dramatically, affecting local economies. The sharp decline in visitors led to a significant loss of revenue, impacting everyone from tour operators to local artisans. Alaskan officials were outraged by Canada's decision, citing lack of consultation. They argued that the ban was implemented without considering the severe economic repercussions for Alaskan communities. Temporary waivers were eventually granted, but not before significant damage. These waivers allowed some ships to bypass the Canadian stop, but the relief came too late for many businesses. This historical precedent informs current anxieties over BC's tolls. The memory of the cruise ship ban lingers, reminding stakeholders of the potential for economic disruption from policy decisions. The situation highlights the interconnectedness of U.S. Canada-Alaska relations. The economies and communities of these regions are deeply intertwined, and decisions on one side of the border can have far-reaching consequences. It's a reminder of the potential for economic fallout from cross-border disputes. The Great Cruise Ship Kerfuffle of 2021 serves as a cautionary tale of how interconnected our world has become, and the importance of collaborative decision-making. The dispute extends beyond tolls, affecting broader business relations. BC's Premier Eby directed a boycott of American products. Government-run liquor stores halted sales from Republican-led states, including Alaska. This symbolic gesture sends a strong political message. The cruise ship industry is also watching developments closely. Disruptions could impact the lucrative sector vital to both BC and Alaska. BC faces a delicate balancing act between standing firm and economic interests. The potential for collateral damage is significant. The economic measures are straining U.S. Canada relations. The once friendly border now resembles a tense standoff. The conflict between BC and Alaska adds complexity to the situation. Alaskan politicians feel targeted, while BC defends its interests. The dispute challenges long-standing economic partnerships. Trust erodes and uncertainty breeds, threatening cross-border cooperation. Economic tools are being used as weapons in political disputes. It's a reminder of the fragility of even the closest international relationships. As of mid-2025, we're in a geopolitical entanglement. BC's toll legislation and Trump's tariff threats create a standoff. The potential for economic disruption is enormous. Alaskan businesses brace for higher costs, while Canadian exporters fear tariffs. Industries from trucking to tourism are caught in the crossfire. The U.S. Canada relationship is a cornerstone of regional stability. Escalating measures risk increased protectionism and economic nationalism. The road ahead looks rocky, needing de-escalation and dialogue. Without it, both nations face prolonged economic friction. Cooler heads must prevail to find a sensible resolution.